we will not have a next season like this. If we start like this, or if the feeling is still here, we should give the space to a different person.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, this has been a tough season as a United fan. And Ruben Amorim, he didn't put any punches, man, in his post-match press conference after that game against West Ham. I want to run through it because there's some important conversations I think that we need to have. I'm going to speak about Ugarte, about Hojlund, about Amorim, about player attitude, about the season so far. Because as I said, I think this feels like probably one of the most important post-match press conferences that we've had so far under Amorim. And he is not pulling any punches. That's the way I would describe it. He was asked what other word can you use apart from embarrassing to describe the fact that Manchester United are 16th in the table. There is no other word that you can use. It is embarrassing. It is shocking. Last season was our worst ever season in the Premier League. Boom. That's in the past. We've now finished 16th. I'll be honest, I'm expecting us to finish 17th. I think Spurs will get better results than we will in our last two games away at Chelsea and at home against Villa, both of which, as you can see, are chasing Champions League football. Therefore, they've got something to play for. Now, Ruben, it's been awful in the Premier League. 6 wins out of 24. And he said something really important after. I'm not going to be here. Effectively, what he's saying here is I'm not going to be here next season if we start next season in the same way that we've been playing this season. He's not pretending. He's not hiding away from it. He's not putting the responsibility on the players. He's absorbing that himself. The club does need to be brave. Now, you might say, hold on here, Sam. Surely just before Europa League final or European final, you shouldn't be like calling out your players like that. I'm like, bro, you can tell me about all these different types of ways to manage and what to say and what not to say. And I guarantee that Ruben's tried it all. This summer has to be one where the club, it's not about being brave, get it right. That's it. I get what it is. Get it right. As for Ruben, he's spot on. There's so many problems at this football club. Winning the Europa League doesn't change those. However, if we do start next season in the way that we've finished this season in the league, Ruben Amorim knows that he won't be given the time, and he's aware of that. And that's important to understand. Now, second on my list, I want to speak about the player attitudes. That game against West Ham, it was no surprise, it was no shock at all, and that's the issue. The way I tried to articulate it was that these players don't care. This is a far better way of describing it. These players know that there's no real consequence to losing a game in the Premier League as a Manchester United player now. They're not scared of losing. They don't have that fear of what it means to lose. So therefore, they've not got the urgency, the drive to want to win that game. In the Europa League, they've got it because everything's still on the line. In the same way that I think going into these games against Villa and Chelsea when they're chasing the Champions League, when we're not chasing anything, we can't get relegated, we can't really finish above 12th. Why do I need to give any effort as a player? That's what these players think. That's what these players did against West Ham. That's what they did against Brentford. That's what they've did in the last 7 games where we haven't won a game. That's what they've done in 6. That's why we've only won 6 out of 24 league games under Amorim. These players checked out of giving everything in the Premier League a long time ago. And he's spot on to say that's the cultural problem. Right? No manager changes that. It comes from within with the players a lot of the time. Of course, a manager can instigate, can inspire, and can help steer, but there has to be a want to come from both directions. With a lot of these players, when it comes to the Premier League, that want just isn't there. They'll be there at the start of next season, fresh, new, exciting, great. As soon as we stepped away from the top 4 and it wasn't a possibility, so many of these players looked at the Premier League differently. It's a big contributor as to why we are where we are in the league and why the results have been so bad. But for me, the worst thing about yesterday wasn't even the results. It was Leny Yoro. And this is the latest on Yoro. I'm begging that he's fit for the final. If I'm looking at our back 3, I'm probably choosing Yoro number 1 in terms of importance. Mazraoui, he'll start. Maguire, he'll start. But Yoro out of those 3 is a player that I really want to be fit. I'll be honest, I'm not hopeful. I'm not optimistic. The way that he left the pitch, he looked pretty distraught. And he's had a tough season. The start of it, 3 months he missed with injury. Took him time. Then he developed and settled and he goes, "Oh, there you go. That's why we got him. We've signed a gem there." And then boom. That before the final. You might say that Yoro should have been left on the bench. I would also come back to you and say that our starting 11 not playing a game of football for 11, 12 days before, that carries its own risks. Either way, I'm not optimistic that he's going to be fit, but I really, really hope he is. I really, really do. Let's talk about Hojlund, right? I always judge players, Manchester United players, in their second season. I think it's fairer. I've made my judgment on Hojlund now. I don't think I'm ever going to have the belief in him as Manchester United's first team striker. I think I'm done with that. It's not going to come. It won't come. The only chance that he's got at United is we sign someone, in my opinion, more, I think, senior. We're speaking about Liam Delap. Let's see what happens there. I think if United do win the Europa, there's a conversation around Gyökeres. Other than that, it probably will be Delap. But at least he's experienced in scoring in the Premier League, at the very least. But Hojlund, it's obvious. I think he's been damaged by this season so much that he can't possibly ever be United's first choice striker. And I think if he didn't cost as much, United would be looking to offload him this summer. But because of that, I think he'll stay for one more season and then he'll get replaced the season after. Unless, as a second choice striker, he finds his position. Things start coming a bit more naturally to him. And he gets that confidence back. Because right now, he's an absolute ghost of shadow and it won't come back. Not for the rest of this season. I just hope that he can find his goal-scoring boats in the Europa League final. But truth be told, I'm not anticipating he will. I'm not expecting him to. I don't think you are either. And another player I want to speak about after that game yesterday is Ugarte. Because as you can see there, I feel that some of the Ugarte criticism is really extreme, man. Did we sign Ugarte to be the ball progressor from deep? No, we did not. What I expected Ugarte to be, and this is where I think criticism is fair, is reliable. He might not make the line-breaking passes, but he'll keep possession. 9 times out of 10, he'll find a teammate with that pass. And that's an error. And that's a problem. And that's where I think criticism is fair. But Ugarte, as a ball-winning midfielder, I think his best strengths come out of possession rather than in possession. And there is a spot for that in United's squad. I see Ugarte, over the next few years, being a very good squad midfielder for United. But I don't think he'll be starting it. Well, he doesn't finish any game, really. He gets taken off every time. But I just feel like people are having a go at him for not doing what we knew he couldn't do before we signed him, which seems a bit odd. And I just think some of the criticism around him is a bit extreme, for being totally honest. But to go back to the very beginning there, and this is going to take us another separate video because it deserves it this week. Amorim isn't hiding away. He's not pretending that the season can be saved by the Europa League final. He knows the problems. He knows the next season, if we don't start off strong, then the leeway that's been given this season by finishing 16th will not be there. And that damage has been, and this is what I agree with some United fans, that are saying that there's going to be some sort of residual damage for the fact that we've finished 16th, and he'll have to regain that favour that he's lost among some fans. I think that's fair. But yeah, I just want you to let me know what you think in the comments. As always, I do read them. I promise to do.